Welcome to Fantasy Football Today, Dynasty. I am your host, Heath Cummings, joined today by my good friend, Adam Pfeifer. We are going to try to help you process these first 2 weeks of NFL action. There have been some wild outcomes. People are freaking out in redraft leagues. I know you Dynasty managers don't freak out about 2 weeks. No, that's not true. You absolutely do. There's a couple of guys maybe we should be. Adam, thank you for being here today. Just tell everybody here at the top about where they can find your work and what you're doing this season.
Yeah, FTN Fantasy. I'm doing a lot of film watching this year, which is really fun. Last year, I started doing a lot of film watching for the NBA and charting for the site because we have so much advanced data. And this year, I thought, I love football. I love watching film. I love analytics. Why not watch the football games too? So charting a lot of stuff at FTN. A lot of my analysis has been both. I like to use data and film. I don't think I think you should use both. I think a well-rounded analyst should probably try to incorporate both. So I'm doing a lot of that. And of course, I'm still, having a bunch of in-depth stats and breakdowns along with the film. So it's been a fun start to the season. It's only been 2 weeks, but I've been just watching a lot of film and it's been fun.
And what we're going to talk about today is, first off, all the latest QB news. We don't have very much film on like a fourth of the starters in the league this week, or at least possible starters. We will, at the end of the show, kind of go through a mock fab breakdown for Superflex leagues of how we're prioritizing these guys. So stay tuned for that. We talking about some of my rankings, risers and fallers, and I've got some questions for Adam about these guys. And then I didn't have this on the show. I don't know if you guys know how this generally works, but I try on Mondays to get the rundown out relatively early in the evening. And I didn't before the late Monday night game, which, can we please never do a 10 p.m. start again? It just absolutely kills me.
Imagine, and I saw you tweeting last night late and I was up with you and I'm sitting here like, luckily it didn't matter because I was getting destroyed.
Right.
And imagine needing like 3 points from Marion Hampton and having to sit through that.
It was an absolute, or maybe worse. Imagine going against Marion Hampton and thinking you're going to lose, and then, I just won because he fumbled, and then they switch to the fumble to Justin Herbert. It's not like you can just watch a football game and then fall asleep. It doesn't work that way. Although the Raiders and Chargers tried to give us the type of game last night that might put someone to sleep. So we'll talk about the rookie running backs in just a moment as well. But we've got 3 questions for Adam to start here. I know this happened to a lot of people. So you just lost Joe Burrow in a super flex league. Jake Browning is available. How much fab are you spending on him?
I'll tell you what. The plan was to come on this podcast for a while, and once the Burrow news broke and I saw the rundown, my thought was, I don't know, 75 to 90% maybe. But then 6 other quarterbacks now might not play, and maybe you don't have to spend as much. I would still probably, like, for instance, I'm in a super flex league where I have Josh Allen and Michael Penix, but my third quarterback is non-existent. And my team is really, really good in that league to where I don't see myself having to spend a lot of fab elsewhere the rest of the season. I'm probably going to put like 70% at least for Jake Browning. Because that's the only quarterback situation we know that Joe Burrow is probably not going to play again this season.
Right.
Whereas Jaden Daniels, I don't even think Jaden Daniels is going to miss this week, let alone we'll talk about that. But then you have the other situations like McCarthy will be back 2 to 4 weeks. Like that's the one concrete injury where Burrow's probably not coming back. And we've seen Jake Browning be very viable, not a top 10 fantasy quarterback, but good enough to start in a pinch and good enough to just say, you know what, throw the ball to Jamar Chase, throw the ball to T. Higgins. So especially if you lost Burrow, but I'd even lose Burrow and I'm spending 70% probably.
What I wrote in the quarterback preview this morning was that my expectation is somebody in almost every super flex league is going to just spend all their fab.
Yep.
Like and maybe that won't happen. Maybe there will be a league where you put 100% bid in and the highest is 50% and you feel dumb. But if you actually want to make sure you get Jake Browning, I'm not sure you can hold anything back.
Especially in Dynasty, because like what are the, if you're in a deep or a 12-team Dynasty league where everybody's paying attention, who's really going to be out there for you the rest of the season in a super flex league that's going to rival the value that Jake Browning can have? Again, it'd be totally different if Joe Burrow was out 2 weeks, but he's out 3 months.
And just a reminder, back in 2023, Jake Browning was a top 10 quarterback in CBS fantasy scoring, over 21 fantasy points per game, had 21 fantasy points last week coming on in relief. It could go bad, but if you want him, you probably have to spend just about everything. We've been a lot of slow starters. Can you name one that you'd like to try to buy in Dynasty this week?
Yeah, I mean, just name any rookie running back.
Oh, any?
Okay, maybe not Bill apparently, but no, I don't think anybody in Dynasty is really jumping ship with these rookies. It's definitely been frustrating. I will say there are a couple players, like if somebody's worried that all of a sudden Ladd maybe wasn't, maybe he was like a 1-year wonder, and all of a sudden it's a 3-headed, which may be true, but if they're this pass rate over expectation for the Chargers, I don't know where you were on Herbert in the offseason, but swing and miss for me. Like I should have been. That's one of my top regrets is not having really any Justin Herbert. And we saw it when he was finally healthy in the second half of last season. They were just throwing the ball way more. And now he's healthy and he's playing like one of the best quarterbacks in the league. There's still going to be plenty of weeks where Ladd McConkey has 8 for 120 and a touchdown. But a couple plays where Quentin Johnson gets behind the defense. I think I may have underestimated just how much Keenan Allen would be not used because we knew he'd be utilized, but how good he would be. So it's a little frustrating for Ladd right now, but if somebody's worried that maybe last year was a 1-year wonder, same with Brian Thomas Jr. perhaps too. Like I don't know where you have where you kind of gauge people's mindset with Dynasty after 2 weeks, but if there are people out there that are like freaking out about those guys, yeah, please by all means go for it. I don't anticipate many in Dynasty, but you don't really know, man. Some people's temperature might be a little cold on those guys all of a sudden.
Yeah, Brian Thomas Jr. is still my wide receiver 6 in Dynasty. Ladd McConkey still my wide receiver 13 in Dynasty. I had him projected for a 24% target share at the beginning of the year. He currently has a 23% target share.
And he could have had a long touchdown yesterday. Yep. Like people were worried after week 1 in redraft. I'm like, if his bad games are 75 yards, like sign me up.
Right.
Like there's a lot of receivers right now where you'd love to have 6 for 75. I know last week or yesterday wasn't quite as good, but again, at some point, Quentin Johnson's going to stop scoring long touchdowns on, I don't want to say broken plays. That was more like his last year, but it doesn't help when you can't get those Ladd McConkey receptions when Quentin Johnson keeps getting like 50-yard touchdowns either.
So you said you were buying low on all of the rookie running backs.
If you can.
If you can. So let's ask about 2 of them here. Quinshon Judkins. No, Quinshon Judkins or RJ Harvey in Dynasty. Who would you prefer?
Judkins. I liked him better pre-draft. I liked him better in rookie drafts. I thought he looked good in limited action on Sunday. The only concern is what Harvey's concern is right now. Is there a second running back? Right now, there's a third running back. I think Jerome Ford's going to be
No, I think the concern is that this year the Browns are so bad that Judkins just doesn't score any touchdowns. But yeah, Harvey probably of the like for this year. Mm-hmm. And I was like you. I didn't have RJ Harvey as a first-round pick in rookie drafts, so I wasn't a big Harvey guy. If you were, you can ignore that part of it. But you're right. The big problem for Harvey is it's not just J.K. Dobbins. I assume at some point Harvey's going to take some of these passing down work away from Tyler Beatty.
My problem with Harvey, too, is like Sean Payton is we know for a decade plus he's been one of the best play callers for running backs in fantasy. We know that. The problem is it's rarely one player, and he has a different player. And we'll talk about this later with Troy Franklin. Mm-hmm. He has a different, it feels like, player schemed for a different matchup each week. Like last week, it was Troy Franklin. The week before was a lot of Sutton, and like it could be Marvin Mims this week. It could be Harvey this week. That's the That's like the benefit and that's the blessing and the curse for Harvey right now because Tyler Bidet is apparently not being he's in like the Jaleel McLaughlin role that we
thank you.
It's kind of crazy, but yeah, for me it's Judkins. I don't want to say it's not close, but I feel pretty comfortably that I prefer Judkins. And yeah, like the offense is concerned, and especially if they get worse with if and when Flacco is no longer under center. But I like them better as a prospect. I just think the Browns, the only bad thing is like Sampson maybe steals some work in passing downs. And I think by hopefully this week, Jerome Ford's kind of phased out.
I sure wish so. It looked like Jerome Ford was maybe ahead of Dylan Sampson last week. So we will see how that works out. Let's take our first break. We'll get into some of my questions and my rankings, risers and fallers.
Only CBS Sports can bring you big time during the heart of Saturday afternoons. It's big time.
It's big time. It's big time. It's big time.
On CBS and streaming on Paramount Plus.
So I have seen a couple people say on Twitter that this is an excellent buy opportunity on Joe Burrow if you're a rebuilder. We talked about Jake Browning already and what it's going to cost to get him in a super flex league. But how much does Joe Burrow fall with the 2025 season basically being erased in our mind?
It's tough. Like, for me, you can now because injuries have clearly been a factor for Joe Burrow for a handful of years now. The offensive line just doesn't get any better. The good news for Burrow for Dynasty is his top two receivers are locked into their contracts, which is great. There was some concern about T. Higgins for a while, and could they pay all these guys? But it's not just that. Like, you have guys like, I don't know if you have updated your Dynasty ranking since the Burrow news, or at least the quarterbacks, but like, would you have him behind guys like, Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jordan Love? Like, I think it's pretty comfortably the guys we know that are ahead of him: Lamar, Josh, Jaden, probably Herbert. And then it gets to like, where do you have Mahomes, who's 29, and Caleb Williams, is he ahead of him now, and Drake May? Those are the guys where I think it gets interesting, and that can make a case if you do have those guys ahead of Joe Burrow now. That pushes Burrow to like the 9-10 range probably.
Yeah, I had Burrow at 4 before this week. It was easy to move him behind Mahomes and Hurts.
What about Herbert?
I've got him behind Herbert. I've got him behind Caleb.
Yeah.
I've got him behind May. He's QB 10 for me now. And I do agree. Like, if this year doesn't matter to you at all, then he shouldn't fall quite that much. But he's not young anymore. He's going to be 29 probably before he plays football again.
He will definitely be 29 before he plays football again.
And he does have a pretty extensive injury history now. Those are piling up. And so, yeah, I think QB 10 for Burrow. And if you're not contending this year, maybe go see if you can buy him for that. It's such a bad timing thing. And it would have to be a true, I've got a true contender where I had a super flex league where I had Burrow and Fields as my starting quarterbacks, and now I'm 1-1.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if I'm going to trade Joe Burrow away or not. How highly should we be valuing Daniel Jones after this hot start?
This is such a dangerous game, especially with Daniel Jones. It's a dangerous game with like these quarterbacks that have been mid to below average for their entire career, essentially, and then new offense, new scheme, new system. I'm buying it to an extent. Do I think he's going to be the QB2 in fantasy like he is right now? No. But I'm buying him just excelling and fitting well in the Shane Steichen offense. They're using play action and pre-snap motion pretty much more than anybody. It's like 39% play action, like 60+% pre-snap motion, which are easy, layup targets. But Daniel Jones is making some good throws too. He gives you Daniel Jones right now is, I believe, 3rd in the NFL in carries inside the 5-yard line. So that's something they're not really shy to do when they get in close, which Jonathan Taylor fans love, even though Taylor hasn't mattered for him because he's just getting 200 scrimmage yards every week. I'm buying it to an extent. I think in Dynasty, you always have to be worried about, the contract stuff. Was he on a 1-year deal? But the other thing too is they keep playing this well. Who are they going to draft at quarterback? That was the whole consensus going into the season. All the Colts are going to be a bottom 5 team. They'll draft one of the top quarterbacks, but they keep playing this well. They could win the division, win 8 to 10 games. All of a sudden, they don't really have the opportunity to draft. And the Colts don't have Tyler Warren probably looks like
maybe having
a clear elite player on offense, but they have a bunch of really good ones. Alec Pierce, Josh Downs, Michael Pittman, Taylor, obviously. I'm talking about the passing game. Everything works. RPOs, RPOs, play action, everything's working for Daniel Jones. I'm buying to an extent. I'm cautiously buying, I guess.
I've moved Daniel Jones up from QB 32 to QB 27. I am still way
That
behind
sounds
on
not
him.
notable, but like it is.
Right. And I think like I tweeted about this earlier, and Senior Football maybe has been watching my Twitter. She says the Colts scare me that they are the Saints from last season. And it is worth remembering that Derek Carr was averaging 11 yards per attempt and was QB2 through week 2 last year. I think it's a really interesting matchup this week against the Titans, who have actually been really good against quarterbacks, completely shut down Bo Nix. And it's the Colts' first game outside.
Yeah.
And then next week, they go to the Rams, who have been the best defense against quarterbacks so far, partially because of the quarterbacks they've faced. So I'll buy it a little bit more if he's good this week. I'll buy it a lot more if he's good in week 4. I did just trade Daniel Jones this morning in a 1 QB league. It's a 14-team league, and it's 1 QB. We have 9 offensive starters, so a double flex league. And I traded Daniel Jones and a 4th next year for Cooper Kupp and a 6th next year. And everybody on Twitter thought that I didn't get enough. Cooper Kupp is washed after his 7 for 90 yesterday or on Sunday. And Daniel Jones is for real. That's the feedback that I got. It's gonna be interesting to see what happens with both of those guys moving forward. James Cook, your guy.
So good.
We had some talks, I think, with you, and I think we were in agreement.
This was pre-contract too.
Yes, great contract, but we were a little concerned that his great 2024 was a lot of touchdowns and worse usage, and we thought maybe he was a sell. And guess what? He's going to play 55% of the snaps and score 2 touchdowns every week. It doesn't matter. Should James Cook be a top 12 dynasty running back?
I believe he should be, off the top of my head,
Well,
I 13, yeah.
I've got him 13th. So I'm going to give you names, and you say them or James Cook. Yep. Chase Brown.
James Cook.
Brees
Chase Brown, we need, like, if that volume drop, I don't think it's going to, but if there's a season where that volume drops, he's in trouble because he has been just dreadfully inefficient.
Brees Hall.
That one's tough. James Cook.
Jonathan Taylor. Trevion Henderson.
I'm trying not to let these first two. I think I'd still lean Trevion, but I really am not a fan of these first 2 weeks.
What about Amari and Hampton?
I feel like you have to go Hampton.
Yeah.
But
no, I think he's right in that. So you've got him just inside the top 12. The guys I have behind him, I don't.
Good. Like I'm biased, so it's tough. And if I don't know how it happens, Heath, every time on the podcast we talk about him. So thanks, and also not thanks. He's just really good. Like I don't know if you can name 6 running backs that are just purely better than him right now. Not for fantasy, just better.
Right.
He's really good.
He's really good. I wish he played a few more snaps.
Well, here's the thing too. It's quietly under the radar, and it hasn't mattered because he's had 2 monster games. Last year, James Cook played like 46% of the offensive snaps. This year, he's up to 55%. And in the offseason, during the contract stuff, he talked about how he wanted to play on all 3 downs, play more on 3rd downs. Last year, he played 11% of the 3rd downs. He's up to 20% this year, which is, again,
that's positive. Yeah,
it's a 9% jump. And there was a couple plays where they had him and Ty Johnson on the field on 3rd down. He's really good. The offensive line is fully intact. They have probably the most cohesive offensive line in the NFL outside of maybe the Eagles. And he's getting the goal line work. He's getting explosive plays. The pass game usage is going to be a little inconsistent from game to game, but if he's playing more 3rd downs and more 2-minute stuff, everything can help him. He's already efficient. Yeah, he's awesome. He's awesome, and he already has 15 fantasy points, and the game didn't start against Miami yet, so that's going to be sick.
Holy cow, I can't imagine what he's going to do against them.
The Bills are implied for like over 30 points right now.
30 and a half or 31, yes. So we talked about the disappointing rookie running backs. You mentioned you can't buy low on Bill right now. How high is too high for Jacory Croskey-Merritt, the 7th round pick, who Brian Robinson gone, Austin Eckler gone, Jaden Daniels maybe not going to run as much with the banged up knee. Everything just turned up roses for Bill.
Yeah, and I traded him in redraft last week, so I'm feeling great.
Awesome.
And to make it better, it was part of an AJ Brown trade, and apparently the Eagles don't want to throw the ball, so I'm feeling great. I don't want to go too crazy because, like you mentioned, we fall in love with these kind of Cinderella stories, and he's awesome. Still a 7th-round pick.
Right.
We've seen James Robinson, a lot of these guys, like they have the one, Dameon Pierce, like these late-round picks have the 1 year, and they're replaced. And Bill, we don't know for sure if he's going to get the pass down work without Eckler. That's something he didn't do in college. It's something he hasn't done to start the NFL. That's where I'm trying not to get like too excited because I'm not guaranteeing he's going to be involved in the passing game, even with Eckler out. I think he has an opportunity to, but that could easily be anybody else in that backfield. Also, I don't think Washington, which sounds crazy because they traded Brian Robinson, wouldn't be shocked if they added somebody at the deadline. Would not be shocked. Maybe it's like somebody from Tampa Bay, Sean Tucker, Rashad White, somebody, right?
Would somebody please trade for Sean Tucker? Kansas City, could you please trade?
Yeah, I love Sean Tucker. Sean Tucker deserves 10+ touches a game.
What 100%. So I've got Jacory Croskey-Merritt at RB 35. He could it'll be interesting because it's weird. His snap share actually went down last week.
Yeah, a lot of that was game script, but it also started where he just was on the field like the first 2 drives. Like Washington couldn't get a first down, which didn't help. They're at home against the Raiders this week. This should be like a 15-touch game from him, but in Dynasty, for me, the way I kind of view things, especially with these like 7th-round running backs, I would probably be more inclined to try to sell high on him if you can.
So a guy that I've had quite a ways ahead of him, and everybody else did months ago, but is still just barely ahead of him for me, Cam Scatterbo or Jacory Croskey-Merritt?
That is very tough. I think I would lean Cam.
Yeah, I just barely. And honestly, if week 2 had gone like week 1 did,
right,
that probably wouldn't be the case. But it looked in the second half like Scatterbo may be taking over that backfield. So I just barely, I still do. Moving on to the wide receivers, Rome Odunze was a guy that was on my buy list for most of the summer.
Last time we talked about him, we told people, go get Rome Odunze.
And I hope they did. He's up to wide receiver 15 in my Dynasty rankings. How long until he's top 12?
I don't think it'll be very long, especially if Caleb can just continue to progress a little bit. Please don't throw him the ball in quadruple coverage again, Caleb Williams. I don't know if you saw that, but it was just absurd. But here's the thing with Rome. Always loved him as a prospect. And last year, what was it in the Bears offense? It was a bunch of vertical shots down the field that were uncatchable. Like 40% of his air yards were uncatchable. This year, he's still getting deep targets, but they're way less frequent. And they're paired with more layup scheme stuff from Ben Johnson. Remember the first touchdown of the game in week 1 on Monday, that scheme, there was like a motion, they fake the pitch, quick slant, Odunze and man coverage, touchdown. Right now, Rome Odunze is averaging 4 targets, or he has 4 targets with motion through the first 2 games with Ben Johnson. He had 15 such targets all of last season. He is averaging 3.5 in-breaking routes per game, or targets per game, and 12.5 in-breaking routes per game. Last year was 2.1 targets and 9.8 routes per game off those type of routes. So way more stuff over the middle of the field, similar to Marvin Harrison, where we want him getting more stuff in the middle of the field. And his deep target rate is down by 5%. So he can still do that stuff. Caleb will still take shots. DJ Moore is still getting the screen stuff and like the backfield stuff. But Rome Odunze, we've heard whispers about it all through training camp that he's going to be this team's wide receiver 1. And it's been pretty evident that's been the case through 2 weeks.
So I'll give you 3 wide receivers. I won't tell you what order I have them ranked in, but you rank them. Rome Odunze, Teteroa McMillan, and Emeka Egbuka.
McMillan, Odunze, Egbuka.
I have it Odunze, McMillan, Egbuka, but they are.
So I feel like you probably 16, are not the consensus with having Odunze over McMillan, is my guess.
No, I think definitely not.
Which I don't think is crazy. I love Rome Odunze. He's one of my favorite prospects in the last 10 years at wide receiver. I just think McMillan is there is nobody else to throw the ball to. Xavier Legette has been a massive, massive disappointment. I think he has like 5 yards on 15 targets this season.
Yeah, I mean, Jalen Coker is coming.
Yep,
hopefully, but that's not going to affect Tyrod McMillan, I don't think. You mentioned it earlier. We're going to talk about Troy Franklin. Let's talk about Troy Franklin. How much are you buying Troy Franklin? And honestly, he's available on the waiver wire in some dynasty leagues. So how much are you adding Troy Franklin as well?
Yeah, needs to be obviously added. It's a little, like I talked about earlier, it's a little concerning, not concerning, but it's a little bit risky to just fully invest because of what Sean Payton does on a weekly basis. It seems like it could be not just at running back, but any position, a different guy each week. So I think there's a lot of that. This week, it could be Pat Bryant. It could be Marvin Mims. It could be, I mean, Sutton had a terrible game.
Right.
The thing I did like is Franklin, he has that connection with Bo Nix, obviously playing together at Oregon. And there was a lot of screen targets, a lot of scheme stuff, which tells me that like in the meetings, in the game plan throughout the week, like they were seeing something to where Troy Franklin was going to be able to, succeed. But the snap share, the routes were all up. I was high on Marvin Mims this offseason. I think there's a better than not chance, though, it's going to end up being Troy Franklin as his team's wide receiver 2, because that's the thing. Like, it's wide open for somebody to just emerge as the weekly wide receiver 2 on this team behind Sutton. So I'm kind of similar to like Daniel Jones. I'm like cautiously optimistic, but I'm not banking on this game saying, okay, this is what we should expect, because it's Sean Payton's offense. It's going to be different every week. Also, we didn't expect this. They've had nothing at tight end this year. It's been more Adam Troutman than anybody.
At the tight end position, there's now a clear top 4: Brock Bowers, Trey McBride, Sam Laporta, Tyler Warren. Put them in whatever order you want to. Who's tight end 5?
What week is it? Is it crazy if I want to say Tucker Kraft now?
Tucker Kraft is currently listed as tight end 5 in my dynasty rankings.
Because
Adam
before the
wins.
season, it was
if I had
probably
an applause
Colston
button, I
Loveland?
would play it.
Was it Loveland like before the season started, maybe?
Yeah.
And now, like, imagine if Tucker Kraft was getting weekly 7+ targets like every week. It wouldn't be close to be Tucker Kraft, in my opinion. I think he's still under 25. He's paired with a really good young quarterback. It's definitely not Kincaid for me. It's not Hawkinson.
You know who's coming for Colston Loveland, don't you?
Who's that?
Harold Fannin.
Should have known that. Also, by the way, I know you've been very high on Fannin. I've been tweeting about him a lot. People are like discouraged by last week's game because he had like 5 for 48 or something. I'm like, do you know how many tight ends are not even getting half of that?
Yeah, 21-year-old kid gets 5 for 48 in his second career NFL game.
And his slot rate actually went up. And I'm telling you, David Njoku, last year of his contract, they traded him at the deadline, and I don't know if for redraft, I don't know if we're ranking 5 tight ends over Harold Fannin.
Yeah, he's still a top 10 tight end for me this week. There's still an opportunity to buy in some leagues. Some people think they're selling high for a round 2 pick. I'm not sure that they are. Might feel pretty good. Let's one more tight end question on the opposite end of the Harold Fannin spectrum. How patient, and you have to be patient for different reasons with these 3 guys, but how patient are you being with George Kittle, Mark Andrews, and Travis Kelce, assuming you're a contender?
I'm being very patient with George Kittle. I still think he's arguably
so just
the best
if you have Kittle and you didn't have a backup tight end, you're just piecing together streamers until he gets back.
I would be inclined to do that. Yeah, I'm comfortable doing that. I mean, he scored like 10 fantasy points on his first drive, and then gets hurt.
It's just, I mean, it is
the age, 31 and everything.
And I think he'll be 32 before he plays again. And he's been so awesome, and I don't ever want to doubt him, but a 32-year-old coming off of a hamstring that they had to put him on IR for does worry me a little bit. And so, but what about Kelce?
I just don't think he's very good anymore.
He better be good against the Giants, or people are going to freak out.
I think Kelce and Andrews, Andrews is just like, the frustrating thing with Andrews is he is going to be terrible for 6 weeks, and then he's going to have a stretch of 5 weeks where he scores 6 touchdowns.
Yeah. And
it's going to be so frustrating. But
I think the emergence of Zay Flowers has been a real problem for him.
And the other thing is, without Likely, they're running way more 11 personnel. So those guys, It's getting Andrews on the field, but the guys he's on the field with are better at getting targets. It's DeAndre Hopkins and Rashad Bateman and Flowers, obviously. So it's not like he's on the field where there's only one receiver on the field and they have a 3 tight end set, for instance, and it's Charlie Kohler and Likely and Andrews. Like, I don't even know if Likely being out, you would think it would. The one game Likely was out last year, his route participation was way up and everything like that. But now with Hopkins there and still doing things, like he's got to be on the field and competing for targets with those guys when they're in 11 personnel. So Andrews and Kelce, I'm kind of just like, I just don't see it. I mean, Kelce, you should, but that drop.
It was a really bad drop. He also had a couple of nice plays in that game.
Yeah.
I mostly think he's probably a starter for the next month. And then if Worthy and Rice are both back, he may just completely disappear into oblivion. Let's take our second break. When we come back, we'll answer a couple of your questions and we will go through a little fab breakdown in Superflex leagues.
When you need your sports news all the time,
we've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you. When you need your sports in a snap, find it on CBS Sports HQ, streaming free anywhere you are.
So I've got a list of 8 names that are available in more than 90% of CBS leagues. So I would assume they're not available in all of your Dynasty leagues. I know I have a couple of Superflex leagues where Browning was already rostered. And so that Carson Wentz was already rostered in one of them because Thomas Schaefer wisely bid $38 earlier before JJ McCarthy even got hurt. Brilliant move by Thomas Schaefer. He got made fun of for like a week on the podcast over how much he spent on Carson Wentz, and now everybody would spend more than that probably. So we got Jake Browning, Carson Wentz, Marcus Mariota, Tyrod Taylor, Troy Franklin, Hunter Renfrow, 2 touchdowns, Tyquan Thornton, and Jake Tonges. Yeah. I'll say that different every time I say his name. We've pretty much already established that Jake Browning is the guy we're targeting. And we don't really want to spend all of our fab on him, but we kind of expect someone will if we don't. As for the other 3 quarterbacks, and you mentioned you don't think Jaden Daniels is going to miss this game. I brought up yesterday on Twitter, like if Jaden Daniels does miss this game, I'm going to have Marcus Mariota ranked way too high.
I saw your projections for him. They frightened you.
They did frighten me, but the fact is that last year he played 85% of the snaps in one game. He played 55% of the snaps in another game, and he averaged 23 fantasy points per game in those 2 games. He is still a running quarterback, and he was still good at it last year, and he's averaged 7.5 yards per attempt. But for now, if assuming you're making your waiver claims on Tuesday night and Jaden Daniels has not been ruled out, I think he has to be behind Wentz and Tyrod Taylor. Is Wentz the clear number 2 for you?
For me, yeah, just because I personally think again, no actual knowledge. It's just kind of the vibes. Like he's day to day, and like they're kind of. It sounds like he's like trying to play or planning to play. But worst case, I think he misses this week, and then he's back. Whereas we know Wentz will have, and they're scheduled too. Like they have some really good matchups for Minnesota, starting this week with Cincinnati. So yeah, Wentz would easily be ahead of Mariota for me, unless something changes and we get an update on Jaden Daniels. But I'm expecting him to miss no more than this week, if he misses this week at all.
And then, so let's say you put in that claim for Browning, but you didn't even have all your fab left, so you're not sure you're going to get him. 10% for Carson Wentz, 20% for Carson Wentz, or are you going even higher?
It's
this
tough.
Is super flex, need a starting quarterback.
Yeah, and we'll have bye week starting, I believe, week 4, correct? So, yeah, I would say 15 to 20% I'm comfortable with, because like this Minnesota team, they have Super Bowl aspirations. Whether you believe it or not, going into the season, this was a team we expected to win 9, 10, 11 games as long as McCarthy was solid. So if Wentz is really good, which it might be a long shot, but he's got Jefferson. He's going to have Addison back next week. He's got weapons. If he's really good, I don't think they're going to be like, all right, well, we just won 4 straight games. We're trying to win the division. We got to bring JJ McCarthy back. Like, I don't think that's out of the question. So,
right. Brian in the chat tells us buys start week 5. Come on,
week 5.
I'm so deep into week 3 right now, and now the Dynasty show that I could not tell you. The only thing I remember about the bye weeks at this moment
They
is
exist.
that like half of my teams have half of their players on bye week 8. Week 8, I just kept drafting week 8 buys, and I don't really care. And then throw a buck or two on Tyrod Taylor, maybe Marcus Mariota. Nothing special there. Troy Franklin, most dynasty leagues, he's going to, I think, be the best non-QB available. It's a young guy who has upside. We've already highlighted the concerns about the floor. This type of player, what are you generally bidding in a dynasty fab situation?
Yeah, I'd go up to like 25, 30%.
Okay.
I think he I liked him coming out of college. Obviously, there were some concerns about the frame and stuff like that, and the offense in Oregon. But like to already have that connection with his quarterback helps. And it's not like this has totally come out of nowhere. Like he was getting a ton of buzz in Broncos camp this offseason. So it is kind of assuring to see it happen so quickly, just 2 weeks into the season. And I think at the end of the day, like this is going to be an above average offense. It's not like he did this in a fluke game for an offense that we expect to be bottom 5 in scoring. And he's, paired with a quarterback that we think is really good. I don't know about really good, but good. And it's an ascending offense, I think. So yeah, I think pretty easily Troy Franklin would be the best non-quarterback to look at off waivers.
And then I think it's an interesting discussion. Tyquan Thornton scored the long touchdown. Should have had an even longer touchdown. Him versus Hunter Renfrow in deeper dynasty leagues. My initial reaction is I'd much rather have the guy playing with Patrick Mahomes, but you've talked about it. Xavier Worthy could be back as soon as this week. We don't know. Hunter Renfrow probably has his role for at least 2 more games. Does that matter at all to you if you're desperate for a wide receiver this week?
Yeah, I mean, you have to be really desperate, and you have to be desperate now for me to consider either one of these guys. I really have no interest in Tyquan Thornton, to be honest, and I have slightly more interest in Renfrow, just because I think he's going to be more usable the next 2 weeks. Like Thornton got the long touchdown, cool, but if Worthy's back and doesn't aggravate the shoulder, which I think is a risk, but if Worthy's back next week, Thornton might have 2 targets. He might have 2 targets if Worthy's not back.
Right.
So I don't really want to have to go after either player, but if I had to choose just for the short term, start somebody in a pinch. Yes, a lot of those garbage time, but that offensive line in Carolina is now going to be about 2 starters. They might have to get the ball out immediately. That's kind of Renfrow's game. So I would lean Renfrow if I had to choose. But if I'm starting either one of those guys, I'm not feeling great about my chances.
So Jake Tonges played about 40% of the snaps in week 1, caught a touchdown, got added to a few waiver wires, had 7 PPR fantasy points last week, but had 5 targets, played 79% of the snaps. Is this somebody that's just a deep tight end premium only, or could he potentially give you a startable week in a tight end?
Yeah, this is just the tight end position. I would have way more interest in him than the receiver, just because of the lack of options at tight end.
The receiver is not named Troy Franklin, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And like I don't expect him to be very good, but how many tight ends are? Like obviously, like the guys we like, Fan, and those guys aren't out there. Juwan Johnson, he's not out there. Like so. Yeah, if he's going to play 80% of snaps, and like Juwan Jennings keeps leaving games with injuries every week. Like he was great last week, and he's day to day again. I don't know what's going on in San Francisco the last 5 years. Somebody really needs to study it and do a documentary on why this team can't stay healthy. But for the next at least 3-4 weeks, whenever Kittle's back, he's going to play 80% of snaps, run routes, and if you have somebody running routes and playing snaps at tight end, that's valuable. Just ask Evan Ingram, who apparently doesn't do either anymore.
That's unfortunate. Great transition, though. Adam is such a pro, because one of the questions from the chat.
Didn't even see the chat.
Can I still start Pearsall? We don't answer a lot of start-sit questions, but I feel like for a young wide receiver, this one's pretty relevant. I talked about it quite a bit earlier in the week, but not here. Last year, it was about 22 to 13% in favor of Juwan Jennings in terms of target share.
Mm-hmm.
Week 1, the first 3 quarters of that game, it was about 22 to 13% Juwan Jennings in favor of Ricky Pearsall for target share. Last week, Juwan Jennings, same story.
Yep.
Does Ricky Pearsall need Juwan Jennings to actually miss a game to be a starter?
Depends on your options. I still think Pearsall can be like a flex, but yeah, like it's not a coincidence. And and Purdy's not even playing, and it's just the thing with Juwan is he's always been that guy on third downs, on key downs. Like he had one of the highest target shares on third down in the NFL last season. He's especially without Kittle, it's kind of McCaffrey and Juwan Jennings as the guy on third downs to get the ball to. And yeah, like you mentioned, he's out targeted Pearsall this season despite playing a full quarter less. So
I will say Jennings came into the season with a calf injury.
Yep.
Left week 1 with an arm injury.
Yep.
And now he's dealing with an ankle injury. I am anticipating he's not going to practice until Friday.
Yeah.
And so
we should probably just start expecting anybody that's a little bit banged up for San Francisco that they'll miss Wednesday and Thursday and hopefully be back Friday. Like we know McCaffrey's going to be on this little schedule all year, but like Jennings, Kittle, when he comes back, like this team needs to just try to do whatever they can do to stay healthy.
So I think you can definitely start Pearsall if Jennings misses. They
have Arizona this week, right?
Yep.
Arizona's missing like 3 starting corners potentially.
So
they're very banged up.
Let's say Jennings practices Friday and everything's fine. Are you starting Jennings or Pearsall?
Jennings.
Yeah, me too. Let's we got 2 more questions. Rhonda McCleary, aka James. First time Fabber. Does Fab carry over in Dynasty? Can Fab be traded? So I think he's in the FFT Dynasty League, which thanks for bringing that up. Because I'm 2-0 and that's feeling good. Some leagues it carries over from year to year. Some leagues you can trade it.
Yep.
The FFT Dynasty League is not one of those leagues. You can spend it all this year. That's what you're going to do with it. And finally, for competitors who are seriously in need of running back help, what running backs are you buying right now? Could be rookies or vets. So at the beginning of the you were buying pretty much all of the rookie running backs that we thought were good. But is that the move still if you're a contender this year?
It's a good question. If I'm contending, I'm trying to think of some players that have either underwhelmed or just kind of overlooked. Ramondre wouldn't be the worst because apparently he's not going away.
I was thinking Jordan Mason.
Yes.
That might be some found money for a Jordan Mason manager. And like, you're going to have to probably find this. Javonte could be another one.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have to find this running back on a team that's not contending.
Right.
Because they're probably not like the weird thing is like the running back waiver wire is just awful because nobody's getting hurt. That's not going to last.
What do you think about somebody you were high on this year? DeAndre Swift. It's getting all the work.
You know, they have I think they might have the second highest implied total on the week 3 slate with 26 points. The Cowboys and Bears, 2 awful defenses, and Swift's getting all the work. Don't worry about those Monangai carries you see in the box score. They all pretty much came in garbage time.
I think 6 of his 7 came absolute garbage time.
So yeah, I think Swift would be a good answer.
Just don't watch the games. Just don't watch every carry he gets because you're
definitely
not
don't want to watch the games. That's no fun at all. Jordan Mason, DeAndre Swift.
I am so excited. I'm in a league where I have Hampton and Mason. I'm sitting there watching the game last night, and I said to myself, I cannot wait to start Jordan Mason over Hampton next week. So expect 150 and 2 touchdowns for Hampton this week.
I would start Jordan Mason over every rookie running back not named Ashton Genty, and you should maybe start him over Ashton Genty.
I was going to say, I don't think that's out of the question.
What a ridiculous time that we live in. Adam, as always, thank you so much. Tell everybody one more time where they can find your stuff.
Yeah, ftnfantasy.com, doing a lot of charting and doing a lot of analysis and breakdowns and stuff like that. And on Twitter at apfeifer24. I am going to be finishing some film stuff after this, and then I'm diving right into week 3, and I like to tweet out a bunch of the cool stats and matchup-based analytics that I find while doing my research. I'm old-fashioned. I don't know about you, Heath. I have my computers in front of me right now, all the screens, and when I take notes for each week, I write them down in a notebook because I am weird, but I like doing it. It's very therapeutic.
Worth a lot of money someday.
It's very therapeutic to me. I have my binder in front of me, and it's just filled with notes. Whatever
The
reason I
problem
like to do
for me
it.
is my handwriting is so bad.
Mine is god awful, but
So like you can still read it later.
I can read it because I know how my handwriting is, so I can make out what it is. But if I was reading my handwriting from somebody else's perspective, not knowing it was mine, no shot, 0 shot.
That's going to do it for FFT Dynasty. Thank you to Adam. Thank you to Nada. Thank you to everybody who was active in the chat. We will have a mailbag next week, one-man mailbag. Send your questions to fftdynasty@paramount.com. We'll also be live here on YouTube. We can answer your questions from the chat. We'll talk to you next Tuesday.